What's up, guys? Tim Halstead here for episode 22 of rebuilding the first Calvert Mono-leaf. So here's where I'm at. My carburetor that I'm going to run. This is a Pro Systems 1000 CFM from Patrick at Pro Systems. I mean, I've had this carb for, I'm telling you, probably close to 18 years. Never had any issues with it. Never have any tuning issues with it. Never really have to change jets. Always runs flawlessly. So what I found with these carbs, probably anyhow, if they sit over the winter, or any length of time, what I've noticed was the O-rings for the floats get brittle or crack. I've had a couple times where they'd crack. And you go to start the car and it runs, all of a sudden it starts flooding over for no reason. So I've learned just to put those in new every season and not have to worry about it. So I got that going on. Here's another carb, Barry Grant. This is the one with the exchangeable sleeves. This is an 825 Drag Demon. It's a well-made carb. And I was running 1040s with this, 1030s. And then I switched the Pro Systems, and I think I picked up probably a mile an hour and a tenth and a half, if I remember correctly. So let's get going on this leaf spring job. All right, so here we are. We're back with the Calvert leaf spring, putting the new leaf spring in after I had modified it with the rear section that Travis sent me, and it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna put it in, we'll see how the car sits, and it's got to be better than what I got being 20 years old and being wailed on. So here's the bushings, the Del Alum bushings right here. Now I have them clocked at the position that I like for me to easily service them. I can go ahead and get the grease gun on there without any issues. So what we got here is some like a synthetic type grease, wheel bearing type grease. Put it on liberally, not that big of a deal if you get it all over anything. But you got aluminum going into steel, so it's going to gall a little bit here or there, but if you can make it go in easier, that's perfect. So I made this little setup here, which is basically a piece of 1/2 inch threaded rod with nuts and washers on it to space it out. So let's see if it should draw it right in. So that put it in pretty easy. And I'll look at it. I may have to readjust it here or there because I think it might have to be coming in just a little bit more. But this keeps it from coming in, so I can just set that easy. And that's it, basically. So here's the other thing I'll show you with leaf springs. Like when we're getting to talking about keeping things loose. Here's what I like. I like them working just like that. That's how they should be free moving. No binding in there. And I'll put some grease on there too. But that's the motion I like to see. And then once you tighten them, there's no binding. Now you're still drawing them tight with some preload, but the point is they're not catching anywhere. So whatever action you got is going where it's supposed to go. All right, so here it is. All set in and clocked the way I use it, so I can get to it with a grease fit gun easily when it's installed. Nothing to it. Now there's a bushing in here that slides back and forth, which the bolt goes through. So you definitely want to make sure that thing's free. And it slides perfect. So doing the same thing here. You just got to think opposite when you're doing this side because it's the other side of the car when you set up the grease fitting. So this one kind of slid in a little bit, maybe from wear, having it in and out so many times, I don't know. Hopefully it seats tight. just a threaded rod with some washers on it. Draw it in like a little press. Looks pretty good. And the bushing goes in and slides nice and easy. That's what you want. Sliding in easy. No binding there. So when that thing's rotating, it's going smooth as glass. Well, let's get the spring put in the car. Check it out. Alright, so here's what I do. I put a floor jack underneath the leaf spring so I don't have to hold it up, and it's a lot easier to manipulate it and get it lined up. And in this case here, I got my bushing already set up with my lube to slide through, and it fits perfect. And I like to lube the bushing up itself, and then getting it to slide up, you got to kind of do a pull one out, pull the other one in. And then the other bushing sometimes wants to come out, so you got to push that guy back in. And so I got the shackle in the back, which has these nylon type washers that I've lubed up to put on these shackles that have the Del Alum bushings in it. These are from Global West. So then we'll just get this and push it on, get the bolts on, or the nuts on there, and snug it up. And then remember, we're not going to tighten anything up until the weight's on the car. So it looks pretty good. Here's the spring. Alright, so we're getting the bracket in there. We got the Caltrack set up here the way it's supposed to be. The trick is to get it up inside there and get the eyeball through for the spring eye. So so that one's on there. Now we'll just do the same thing as we did in the back. I'll switch the camera around. Alright, so I'm back here in the back now, ready to put in the Del Alum bushing from Global West. You know, I put in the nylon insulator. I make sure there's plenty of grease on it. Same on the outside. Then you lift it up. Nice. Grease fittings right where I can get to it. Easy peasy. I got the new shackle plate with the lubed up nylon washers. Nice. And then there's the second grease fitting up here at the top. You can't see that, but that's for the upper bushing. It's pretty cool. Definitely loose. In my case here, I'm going to put the 2-degree negative shims in, and then that lowering block, and then get it back on there and see how it sits. But it's going together nice. Alright guys, so here we are. We got the rear end in. I got it centered on the leaf springs and square. You know, with a 9-inch, there's a couple holes in the perch itself. One is for the center of the leaf spring, and one is for the rear part of this lowering block that has a raised up circle in it that fits right in this notch. So I got that in. I got my 2-degree shims in there. Like I said, the most important thing with this kind of stuff is tightening it up straight and making sure that it's square. There's a pin from the leaf spring, and you want it coming right through the hole here with this leaf spring mount. pretty good. And then I like to get a light and check it out and make sure it's looking good. Well, here we are. I got the rear end in. It's square and lined up. It's looking good. I got the bottom mounting plates on here that have my built-in shock mount that I welded on there, but it's regular Calvert plate. I got those all square and tight, and I snugged them up with a gun, and then I like to go through them and go by hand and make sure they're tight. After that point, I'll have the shocks. I'll hook those up. Then I can pick the car up after I put the wheels on. Then I tighten the shackles in the front and the rear. Torque them, you know, to hand, meaning I just tighten them enough that they feel tight, that they're not going to fall off and be unsafe, but loose enough to allow things to move. And that's my goal there. That mount moves pretty nice. So we're getting this thing done. I appreciate you tuning in and subscribing, sharing the videos. Hopefully they're interesting to you. You can get something out of them in regards to the mono-leaf system and the Caltrax. Maybe incorporate it into your program, pick you up a couple tenths. Appreciate it. Stay tuned.